Hey there, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another video. Going with the collection videos and discussion on a certain person, this time on Chuck Norris. So, getting right into it. First off, we have Silent Rage as part of this 3-pack. Don't like the fact it's 3 on 1 Blu-ray, but as far as I know, this is the only way you can get Silent Rage on Blu-ray. And looked pretty decent on Blu-ray. It's from Mill Creek Entertainment. You also have Blind Fury and White Line Fever, Jan Michael Vincent. No features, 3 movies on 1 disc. Not much a fan of that, but again, it's nice to have Silent Rage on Blu-ray. This was a nice gift from someone, so this is on my Amazon wish list, so it's very cool to have this. Next up is a 4-pack, which actually does have 4 separate discs. The Chuck Norris Total Attack Pack, which has Lone Wolf McQuade, Missing in Action, Code of Silence, and the Delta Force. Nice set of movies. Not going to give much for features, but I like that they're each on a separate disc. Not 2 on 1 disc or 3 on 1 disc. So, that was very cool. And I like all these movies. Silent Rage is one of my favorites. All 4 of these movies I enjoy. Personal favorite of mine, Missing in Action 2, the beginning. Gets a lot of crap. Of course, if people know these films, they know the story, that this was supposed to be the first movie, and then the first movie was supposed to be the sequel. They were filming them almost back to back, but then through screenings, they felt that this was the inferior movie. So instead, this came out second, and it became a prequel. But this is my favorite Missing in Action film. I like all 3, but this is my favorite. I like the POW aspect in Vietnam. I like some of the brutality of it, like when he bites the rat, when he has a sack on his head. And you get some nice bits of action. Very capable score. Good villain, Soon Tecco. Stephen Williams from Jason Goes to Hell and the TV show The X-Files. He has a nice supporting role in this. So, definitely one of Chuck Norris's more underrated flicks. And then you have The Hero and the Terror, which this is more of a, not sure if I call it a horror film, but definitely more of a thriller, a little bit of a horror aspect, because you have Jack O'Halloran from the, I think from Superman 2, right? Where he plays the serial killer Simon Moon, who likes to strangle and break necks, and almost has a teeny bit of a Phantom of the Opera aspect in the fact that the killer hides in this movie theater and the realms and depths. And this was a nice different take for Chuck Norris, showing a little bit of his acting, where he battled this guy once before and he caught a lucky break, but people called him the hero who stopped the terror. He's like, they should stop that because I'm not a hero, I just got lucky. So now he's back to battling this killer again who's escaped jail. You have really good music by David M. Frank. It was nice to see Chuck Norris do a little bit of a different kind of movie. And I love the finale. I love the environment of the movie theater, or the theater aspect in general, when Chuck Norris is hunting the terror and little crooks and crannies. You also have Steve Williams. I'm thinking of Missing Action 2. Steve James. Steve James was in American Ninja 1 and 2, Avenging Force. Sadly, doesn't have much of a role in this. And what happens with his character is kind of lame. But overall, this is a pretty damn good flick. I like Hero and the Terror. This is a pretty damn decent flick. And it was the third Missing in Action film. Braddock, Missing in Action 3. I'm sure they got that. The way they did the title, like Rambo, First Blood Part 2. Braddock, Missing in Action 3. He's fighting for everyone who can't fight back. This is where he goes back and finds out that he had a son. And his son and his wife are still alive in Vietnam. He goes back to rescue them. Decent little story, some nice lines of dialogue. I don't step on toes, Little John. I step on necks. Some good, decent bits of action in the finale. What was weird about this, I'm never sure about the timeline, because at the beginning of the film, it's the end of Vietnam, but yet if you watch this movie, it seemed like he was in there as a POW for quite a few years. So, like, was he a POW for years? Then got out, then went back in the service, then got out again? So, like, the timeline with these two, it's a little bit weird. If someone can explain to me, feel free. But this still... I would say I still prefer the first two Missing in Action films, but this is a good one. Entertaining one. And then we have Delta Force 2. This is from Kino Lorber. A couple of these are from Kino Lorber, actually. Like Hero and the Terror. Not much for features, but nice to see him in HD. I would say I actually like the first one more. I know the first one, the thing is, the first half of the movie barely has Chuck Norris, Lee Marvin. It's more about the hostages and the terrorists, led by Robert Forster, grabbing them, and it's more of the build-up. But the second half of the film, the score balance of Silvestri, one of the fun, great themes of the 80s. Chuck Norris with the motorcycle and the missiles and kicking Robert Forster's ass, and the addition of Lee Marvin. Robert Forster is a good villain. That makes me enjoy the film more than this. But this is okay. This always seemed like a bit of a cheaper movie. I don't know, for some reason I always felt Chuck Norris was a bit off in this flick. I could never put my... I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but... Again, this was an okay flick. For some reason, I just don't love the film. I can't really articulate why. But I don't hate the film. Delta Force 2. Definitely better than Delta Force 3. And then this was a nice gift someone sent me a while ago. Sidekicks. It might have been on DVD in the U.S., but it's out of print. It might have been. I'm not sure. I think it was. So it's nice to have a DVD of this. It's from overseas, but I do have a region-free Blu-ray player, so it will play this perfectly fine. And this is a nice little flick where Jonathan Brandis, way before he committed suicide, he plays a kid who has an active imagination and likes to daydream a lot, as you know, being in Chuck Norris movies or joining with Chuck Norris or being Chuck Norris' sidekick. But then he trains, gets self-esteem with the help of Mako. And then when you get to a little tournament at the end, he does get to team with Chuck Norris. And you also have a pretty fun performance by... Come on, I know his name. Come on, I know his name. I cannot believe I forgot his name. I know his name. Why did I forget his name? Let me just double check real quick. Sorry about that, folks. It's going to bug me if I don't look it up. It's directed by Aaron Norris, who, of course, is related to Chuck Norris, who later in Chuck's career directed quite a few of his movies. Joe Piscopo. I don't know why I can't remember his name. You also have Richard Mole from Night Court, among many others. But I thought this is a pretty decent flick. Then we get to some of his older films. We have Good Guys Wear Black. Not the best Chuck Norris film by far. One of his weaker ones. Who directed this? Ted Post, who I know directed one of the... I think he directed one of the Dirty Harry movies. Could be wrong on that. You also have Ann Archer, James Franciscus. And not the greatest movie. Although, weirdly enough, when he was in Expendables 2, they named him after this character. I don't know why. There's other more memorable Chuck Norris films. The Good Guys Wear Black. Then you have the Octagon. When I was working at the video store, this was there for just a couple bucks, and or not even that, because it was one of these type of cases. I went, oh cool, Chuck Norris, let me pick it up. And this was a fun movie. Especially the finale where he fights a bunch of ninjas, and you have Lee Van Cleef from Escape from New York. Fun flick. I'm not going to go in depth on these, just maybe one day I'll do separate reviews. Then you have A Force of One. From American cinema, like the Octagon. And each of these have a little bit of making of, weirdly enough. No interview with Chuck Norris, but a little bit of making of from other people, as well as a little bit of talk about the company American cinema. Force of One is a flick I haven't seen in forever, so I won't say much about it. I always remember the trailer, though, and definitely a peculiar cover. Makes it look like a horror film or something. I know Chuck Norris is a karate champion, and there's a killer out there who is killing members of this undercover narcotics team. He hears the silence. He sees the darkness. Only he can stop the killing. A force of one. This is a wonderful gift from the Flying Ninja 1, if he's watching. Because this DVD is very hard to come by. At least it was at the time. An Eye for an Eye. Very fun Chuck Norris movie. You also have Mako in this. Mako in this. I never know how to pronounce his name. Mako or Mako. You also have Richard Roundtree, Christopher Lee. He embarks on a one-man vendetta to avenge the murder of someone he knew. You know what? I'm not going to get much. If you haven't seen the film, which you might not have because it's hard to get this on DVD, I won't give too much away. And I show this on Blu-ray, but this was the DVD I have of Silent Rage. Again, big fan of this movie. Sort of Chuck Norris versus a Michael Myers type. You know, definitely a horror vibe, slasher vibe to it, which was very nice. Kind of like Chuck Norris was in the original Halloween 2. And then this is the DVD I have of Missing in Action. Kept it because I like that cover. Plus, I'm fine with having the DVD copies as well. And yeah, that's a very memorable cover. Entertaining film by Joseph Zito, who did Friday the 13th Part 4 and Invasion USA, which will be coming up soon. And this is the 3-pack of the Missing in Action films. This is how I had 2 and 3 before I got the Blu-rays. And Code of Silence, separately on DVD. Again, I like collecting movies So the more the better. Yeah, Andrew Davis, aka Andy Davis. Very nice guy named Business of Fear. He actually started doing a couple videos like this and mentioned me, which was nice of him. And he says something I agree with on this, where the director would go on to do Above the Law with Steven Seagal. And you see a lot of similarities where they're both from Chicago, both have the villain, Henry Silva, both have some of the same actors, supporting actors that is in Above the Law. I did definitely see that. This is sort of the Chuck Norris film that critics will give a pass to, it seemed. Then we have my personal favorite Chuck Norris film, Firewalker. It is maybe not as action-packed martial arts-wise as his other films, although it has my favorite bit with them where he clears out this entire bar of people. But I just like the banter he has with Louis Gossett Jr. I like the Indiana Jones type of adventure aspect. You got Sonny Landham from Predator as the villain. May he rest in peace. You also have John Rhys Davies, speaking of Indiana Jones. Will Sampson, who's been in quite a few flicks. Poltergeist 2, among others. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Melody Anderson, she was in the 1980 film Flash Gordon, directed by J. Lee Thompson. Again, love the chemistry between these two, love the adventure aspect. It's a low-budget canon film, but I find it pretty damn entertaining and funny. So, definitely a childhood favorite of mine. A pair of down-and-out fortune hunters cash in on high adventure. Firewalker. And this is the single release of the Delta Force. And this is an old 3-pack I had, which I wanted to upgrade because it was one of those 3 movies on one disc. And on this one, I must have the worst luck when it comes to these because on 1 or 2 of these movies, the audio would go out of sync, like in the middle of the flick. So I must have had some kind of defective copy. Probably what happens when you try to put 3 movies on one DVD. But, you know, I have the worst of luck in that kind of stuff. And Invasion USA. Definitely one of his best films. It's Time to Die. Once again, directed by Joseph Zito. Probably of all the Chuck Norris, I would say this has the best features because you have a new commentary of Joseph Zito, interviews with writer James Bruners, effects makeup artist Tom Savini, Howard Berger and Greg Nicotero. You have a trailer and a TV spot. Yeah, I don't know why none of these have they don't have Chuck Norris interviews, have no idea. But this is a very, very fun movie, Invasion USA. Again, definitely one of his best ones. Then we have one of his first movies, Breaker Breaker, as well as Wolf McQuade. Keeping this because it has Breaker Breaker on it, which I think, from what I heard, Chuck Norris is not a fan of. But I think it's a pretty decent flick for an early Chuck Norris film. He plays sort of a truck driver and breaks down. He searches for his brother in this town, and people in the town are pretty shady. Gets some nice bits of action, especially at the end, where he kicks this one guy's ass that you see on the front there. I don't think it's that bad of a movie. And Wolf McQuade. What more can I say about that one? The 3-pack, which has Hellbound, The Hitman, and Fourth Vengeance. Hellbound, I guess if you say he did 3 horror films, if you consider The Hero of the Terror the horror film, Silent Rage, the third one would be Hellbound, because him and Calvin Levels, who is in Adventures in Babysitting, they deal with a demon from hell, played by Christopher Neame, who is also the villain in the Jeff Speakman film Street Night. So it's not wall-to-wall action. If you're going to it for a lot of action, you're going to be disappointed. But it was just cool to. I liked him and Kevin Levels together. Some of the music and buddy cop cliches made me smile. And again, it was just cool to have this demon from hell type of thing that could rip people's hearts out. And I thought the villain did a pretty decent job, so I like Hellbound quite a bit. The Hitman, I could never get much into. This just was never a big cup of tea for me. And Force Vengeance is very entertaining because it's pretty much Force Vengeance is like 90 minutes of Chuck Norris kicking ass. More like say 80 minutes of Chuck Norris kicking ass and 10 minutes of plot. That's really what Force Vengeance is. He arrives in Hong Kong. Throughout the film, again, you have like 10 minutes of plot and 80 minutes of him kicking huge amounts of ass. So, Force Vengeance is definitely one of my favorite Chuck Norris films for that reason. This was one that was sent to me a while ago, Top Dog. Keep it for the Chuck Norris collection, but this is definitely one of his worst ones. I mean, it's supposed to be a kid's film, but Chuck Norris and his dog go after a white supremacist group who are also terrorists. So yeah, terrorists who are also into white supremacy in a PG-13 kids film where it's Chuck Norris and a dog. Okay. And then these are like the last couple movies he did. I don't fucking care about Forest Warrior. I guess if someone sent it to me, sure. But not looking for it. And, I mean, I forgot to bring out Return of the Dragon. He's in that, of course, fighting Bruce Lee. I do have that film. I'll probably do like a Bruce and Brandon Lee video. I'll show that. But I like Return of the Dragon. I reviewed Return of the Dragon on here. And he was also in The Expendables 2, which I reviewed when I did my Sylvester Stallone marathon of reviews. But you have The President's Man, A Line in the Sand, and Logan's War Bound by Honor. 3 really cheap, boring, bland flicks that I don't even think Chuck Norris is really the main star. It's more this other guy. I don't remember the guy's name. I think he's... Well, maybe they're not all connected, but... I don't know, I don't know. They seem like made-for-TV crap. Yeah, these are pretty damn bad. But for the Chuck Norris collection. And then The Cutter. Got this... I think back in the day when you had Go Hastings, their website, which I wish was still around. I don't remember anything about this movie, so Daniel Bernhardt is in this. From the Bloodsport sequels and John Wick. Something about diamonds being stolen by a war criminal. Chuck Norris is a PI to investigate all the stuff going on. This is definitely one I'll be curious to give another look, because I don't remember a damn thing about this movie, The Cutter. I guess it's called that because diamond cutting and all that stuff, but... I don't know, he's done other stuff like this religious, like, says he's found religion, some of these kind of religious movies. Bells of Innocence, I think it's called, but I don't know, it just didn't interest me. But that's my Chuck Norris collection. I would definitely say some of my favorites would be Firewalker, Silent Rage, Missing in Action 2, I would put Invasion USA in there, quite a few others, Force Vengeance, Hero and the Terror, Wolf McQuade. Again, quite a few good movies he's made. He had a pretty nice series of movies there. And it's sad that he's pretty much retired. But that's my... I don't know why I'm blanking out. That's my collection of Chuck Norris movies. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.